Now, being the internet fanatic I was, I instantly kind of suspected that all the text on the screen would start jumbling up and turn to that mess that you see on morbid threads and whatnot. But my first reaction wasn't, "Oh my god, I'm being haunted by a computer." It was, "Who knows about this? How did someone find this out and is now trolling me?" I spend way too much time on the internet. But so there's nothing else on the screen other than just let me show you in text, and my teacher hasn't noticed, and so I just kind of, I don't tell anyone. I just figure maybe I'm going insane, maybe I shouldn't express this in any way, so I just type in as sort of a reaction, "Who are you?" because I'm just expecting that there's someone else on the other end, and it's just someone messing with me. And the text starts typing again, and it reads, hold on, give me a second here. The text reads, okay. It says the thing that you're afraid of. I don't know why, but that just rocked me. It was so simple, and it's not really that terrifying, but it it just something affected me there when I read that. And the next thing I typed in was, I was kind of in a daze at that point. I was just coasting on my subconscious, and so I just typed in, "What is that supposed to mean?" And it said, "Let me show you one last thing." And the computer shut down with kind of a crack pop, you'd say, like an electrical, and it fried the entire computer. And when I had the teacher look at it, finally I got the teacher's help, and she couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. There was no conceivable reason that that computer shut down and it wouldn't turn back on. It was just completely fried, and yet when they looked at it for basic, electrical failures, there was nothing wrong with it. So after that, they decided to do a full diagnostic of the computer, just see what was wrong with it, if it could be repaired. And I kind of stayed with them because I was curious as to what was happening. They kind of tried to chase me away, but I was stubborn as I am. I told them I really wanted to find out what was wrong with this computer. It was just something. I told them it was just something that I really wanted to find out. And they found a disk in the disk drive that wasn't there previously and had no explanation as to why it should be there. And the disk had red streaks in it, and the nurse identified it. They didn't know what it was. They had suspicions. They didn't think it was paint, and so they brought it to the nurse, and she confirmed it was human blood. And it was right about then that something just clicked. Something happened. I don't really know how to describe it, but my mind went completely blank. There was no thinking through the situation. But when the nurse identified the substance as blood, I had followed the whole process. The entire staff at that point, almost the entire staff, was looking at me like I was out of my mind, and maybe I was. But I was determined to stay with the disk, the computer, the whole process until something was found out. And when I was there when she identified it as blood, and at that point, I was just gone. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't think it through, but I snatched the disc out of her hand, and I just ran out of the school with it. I had it clutched in my hand, and I just ran as fast as I could out of the school. And the security guard didn't really try and stop me because he didn't know what I was doing. I just looked like a rampaging child trying to get out of the school, which isn't really his problem to deal with if I'm trying to get out. And they didn't know what I was doing. Tried to talk me out of it as I was running, but I got out of the school, and I ran all the way to my grandmother's on the other side of town. Well, not the other side of town, but near, or pretty far, to the extent where I was tired when I had gotten all the way over there. And I got over to her dinosaur of a computer. She didn't know what was going on, but she saw I was concerned, and she was just, "What's wrong?"
and I didn't say anything. I remember I just got to the computer. I didn't say anything to anyone, and I got the thing to boot up. Finally, it took like 15 minutes just to turn the thing on and get it running. But I put the disk drive, or I put the disk in the disk drive, and the file opened up way faster than that computer should have allowed it. Normally, it would have like 5 minutes of processing image, downloading, loading, whatever, before the thing would open. But it finally did, and it was just a highly, or it was a very, very foggy image at first, and I didn't know what it opened in. I couldn't tell whether it was like some Windows program or just a picture processor or what it was. But I looked at it, and it was a highly zoomed in image, or at least it appeared to be a highly zoomed in image of a text, or text written out on some substance I couldn't really identify, and in a substance I couldn't identify, and what it was written on I couldn't tell either. But I took the image and I zoomed it out a little ways. It was at like 200%, and I zoomed it out a little ways, and it was red substance written on like stone slate almost, and it said, "Let me show you." And there was trickles coming down from where the paint, I pray to God it was paint, had trickled down on the wall and had reached its way down to the floor. And I zoomed it out farther to see where it led, and it went down for what seemed like forever. It was a huge image. It was tall and thin, and it should have taken up a huge amount of hard drive space. I don't know how to explain why it didn't. There's so much I can't explain anymore. But it let down to a body, a torso that was hunched in the fetal position with the back facing the camera, I'm assuming. And if there was one thing I remember, it was that it had a huge scar all the way from the top left shoulder to the bottom right of the back, cutting across the back. And I stared at it for a while, kind of shocked. My grandmother had just went on her merry little way, not thinking anything was terribly wrong when I just sat down on the computer like I almost always do. But I looked at the body that was on the ground, and it didn't appear to be dead or odd in any way other than the fact that where it was and what it was positioned in. But it was it was pink and fleshy, like a living body should be. The hair was on this person was short and kind of raggedy almost, but almost needing of a haircut. And as near as I could tell, it was probably a man. But when I stared at the scar a little bit longer, something clicked in my subconscious memory, and I remember that earlier that week there had been Doug and I had been talking, and we were just BSing, and he told me about how he had been out in the woods doing something I don't remember. I don't follow his conversations that well. I just kind of zoned him out. But he was in the woods, and he had scraped his back on a tree, and it had cut across him. And later, when we came, or the next day when we came in weightlifting, when he was dressing into his workout uniform, I saw the scar, and when I looked again at the body in the picture that had opened up, I was dumbfounded to find that the scar, the hair, everything matched up completely identical. He was still alive, but whoever was in that picture, in that dark stone slate room, was Doug.
Love is going to destroy everything you ever given. Love is going to destroy everything you ever given. Everything you know, everything you ever thought you know, it's a lie. It's a lie. He's coming back for you. He's coming back for you.
I immediately got onto my cell phone and tried to call Doug, tried to text him. I did everything, no answers anywhere, no responses, not even a. For some reason, it didn't even go to voicemail, it just cut off. A little bit of static and then it cut off. I can't explain that. I can't explain anything anymore. But, right after that, at my failed attempts, I sat there and just stared at the pictures, trying to see if I could get any clue, any sort of knowledge from it as to where he might be. And then I got a text that it was when I opened it, and it said you have one new message. It said it was from Doug, and I was overjoyed, thinking he was all right. But when I opened it up and read it, it didn't have his signature. It didn't have the time received or anything. It was just completely black screen on my entire cell phone, and it just read in bold white text, "He's with us now." That's all it said. There was no signature, "I heart anyone," which was his normal signature. His "I heart his girlfriend," no names. But I didn't know what it meant, but it hit me hard. I don't even know. I didn't know what it meant, but it sent just this wave of fear through me like nothing else could. That was my best friend. But I got up, I closed my cell phone, I closed everything on the computer, and I just got up and I just sat at the coffee table. And my mom was called, the school called my mom, and she was sent to look for me. They didn't know, and immediately she went to both of my grandma's, which is wherever I spend my time, seeing as we live out of town, and so I have to go to either of those places just to, be there. And she found me at my grandmother's, and she just kept asking me questions, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. There was nothing I could say that she would understand or believe, and I went home with her. We didn't talk the entire way home, and I went directly to my room and went to bed. When we got home, I never explained anything to her. I never even attempted to explain anything to her. But when I got home, I just went to bed and I fell asleep. This time I didn't dream. I don't think my brain was alive enough anymore to fabricate dreams. I was just all sorts of dead inside, dead outside. I was a zombie in my own life. But I woke up the next morning and my mom immediately confronted me with all these blur of questions and images, and she told me that the night before, while I was asleep, she couldn't manage to wake me up to tell me that the night previous, after I had gotten home, Doug had been killed. He had been murdered in an old shack, an old abandoned house. Well, a shack off of a house. The tool shed, basically. Out in an old abandoned place about a mile outside of Laurel. She told me Doug had been murdered under unknown circumstances, that he'd been found dead in the tool shed. And for some reason, there was a stone wall on one side that seemed out of place. There was no reason a stone wall should be in a modern tool shed. But the stone wall had human blood that had been painted onto it, reading the words, spelling out the words, "Let me show you," with blood dripping down, leading to Doug's dead corpse. Needless to say, I didn't exactly recover well from that. All I can leave you now is these recordings, and hope to leave you with the words of advice that if files seem out of place, if there's ever a picture that you don't remember taking, a photograph you don't remember ever seeing before, a file that seems at a place to download you don't remember downloading. Destroy it. Delete it. Don't look further into it. If you can, get as far away from that computer, that iPod, that iPhone, as you possibly can. And whatever you do, don't let them show you.